Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we are here for another episode of the Racing Debrief for the first time ever. This is actually going to be recorded with the intention of going on both YouTube and on X. We're posting on there now, so if you're kind of, you know, interested in that, on the YouTube side, we are posting a lot of content over there. And if you're watching on X, well, welcome. And I'm just excited about that to have kind of both platforms going. So it's just a lot of fun, a lot of cool changes happening. There's more to come, so just stay tuned for that. But racing debrief. Let's jump into it from this weekend. There's a lot to go over, a lot of racing. We had 3 NASCAR races. We had F1, and I did actually watch IndyCars, so that's thrilling, right? So let's jump into it first. We'll start with F1, I guess. It was a weird order that I watched it, to be fair. I was at work on Saturday, so to watch it, I watched the first stage of NASCAR truck race, which all of it was done by the time I was on lunch. Watched the first stage of that, went back into work, finished on my shift, came home, watched the rest of the truck race, then watched F1 because it was on at 12 o'clock here, because it's in Australia. So, watched that, then watched the Xfinity race, then woke up and watched IndyCar, then watched the Cup race. So, it was a long day of sports watching the last 2 days. And actually, I watched the Warriors play some basketball, so I watched a lot of sports. But either way, let's jump into it. We'll start with F1 just because we'll go in order by series. So F1 in Australia, big thing from the weekend, of course, is with Williams and with their decision to essentially tell Logan Sargent, "Sorry, buddy, you're not racing." Um, yeah, basically what happened. Alex Albon, I believe it was practice one of the practice sessions. Early in the weekend, he crashed them all pretty hard, broke the chassis of the car enough that they had to fix it, send it back to UK, and work on it. Issue is, Williams didn't have a backup chassis, which, to be fair, I just thought every team had. So Williams didn't have a backup chassis, which is wild to me. But I mean, seeing the fact they were developing their car with Excel sheets, I guess it's not too surprising. But yeah, it was one of those things that they didn't have a chassis, so they could only race one car. Alex Albon's the better driver on that team, so they said, "Sorry, Logan Sargent, you don't get to race." And I'm sure that was just super difficult for Logan Sargent. I know a lot of fans in America, from reactions I seen online, weren't, big into it. Again, if you're trying to grow your sport, and they're basically telling the American driver, "Fuck off." Kind of wild. But again, that wasn't an F1 decision. But still, it's just kind of the way people perceived. Of course, F1's had a lot of things recently that haven't really helped their image, especially in America. So that only adds to it. But the the main the main thing from that is really just, I think that's gonna hurt Logan Sargent's confidence. I mean, I don't think that in that situation you really should make that move. I think that, if Logan Sargent didn't crash, take that as an opportunity for him to build confidence. I know Williams wants to go for points, but I think in that moment you just have to say, we got to go with the driver who didn't crash. And again, build his confidence and show the team, or show the driver that the team believes in him, right? If you crash, you don't crash. But you were kind of in that spot last year with people like, "Oh, get rid of Logan Sargent," right? Your teammate crashes. This is an opportunity for him to at least prove, hey, the team can count on me, and he can go out and finish the best he can do, right? Maybe he can go out and finish 11th. Maybe he can go score a point, right? That's what Alex Albon did. He finished 11th, didn't score a point. So it was kind of a wasted exercise in the scheme of things. But again, putting Logan Sargent in that spot, I feel like isn't the right thing to do. So again, team decision. I would have gone the route and said, "Hey, build Logan Sargent's confidence. Why not?" And again, if you're in that spot, Williams as a team, is Albon going to want to stay if the team doesn't continue to improve? Right? Or is he going to want to go to Aston Martin? Is he going to want to go to Mercedes? Is he going to want to go to Red Bull? Right? Is he going to want to move to one of those teams? And I think that it's one of those spots where giving Lewis Hamilton that confidence, putting him in a spot where you trust him, let the team and driver work together in the situation. I think it's a better move. But that's just me. On to the actual race. It was honestly not much different than normal, except for Max Verstappen had a car failure. It's something we haven't seen since Australia in 2022. Reliability on the Red Bull cars have been really good. Really since that race, I can't think of a time that they've had a mechanical issue. I know they had a few times that the cars crashed out. Checo has had his issues, but yeah, I can't think of a time that that car has just failed since that race 2 years ago. So, you know, obviously as a fan of Max and a fan of Red Bull, it was disappointing. But I mean, those things happen, right? I mean, I don't think it's something that you can get too upset over. I mean, again, he's been on an insane run going into that race. He won 19 of the last 20, and still he's won 19 of the last 21. I mean, I don't know what there's to say about it. Since the beginning of 2023, he's won all but 4 races. Like, I mean, you know, I think seeing him as disappointed and as frustrated is good to see because it shows that he's all in, wants to win that race, right? Wants to win every race and going to perform. And I think that it shows, okay, we got the championships, but I want more. And it shows that drive and that hunger that he's still frustrated as he was 2019, right? When the cars were failing more. 2020, I mean, I'm thinking back to Mugello when the car was in the gravel because the engine messed up, right? Like, I'm thinking back to then when Red Bull wasn't winning every race. And it was that same, like, energy, right, from that. So, again, I was disappointed, but I wasn't, like, super upset because, again, you feel like in that situation you can't be, like, annoyed by it or angry about it. And I think that it's just how it is, right? It's just how racing works. Something's going to happen eventually. You can't win every race. So, I mean, you know, disappointing, but move on to Japan and try to win that race and keep the run going, get more wins, start another win streak, right? Like, I think Singapore was more disappointing, but even then, it's whatever. You can't control those bad races, right? It's going to happen. Something's going to happen eventually. You can't be flawless. I feel like in racing, it's so difficult to get as many wins as Max has had in a row, many wins as the Red Bulls had in a row. Wins last year leading into this year. One bad race. It's whatever. My concern more lies with Checo than with Max, but I think that Checo in general, that race, it was unfortunate because Checo is supposed to be in Red Bull and in the team, as that second driver. He's supposed to be backing up Max. And that's what the top team second driver is supposed to do, right? Mercedes had that. Something happened with Lewis Hamilton. Valtteri Bottas should have been there to win the race, secure the points for the team. And, that goes through the history of F1, right? Like, there's always just been the top teams had their second driver. This is to be there to get the points. Ferrari had it with Schumacher. They had Rubens Barrichello, or whatever his name, something like that. There, Rubens Barrichello? Yeah, that's his name. He was there, right, to back up Schumacher if something happened, right? Just the thing. He's supposed to get the win. Schumacher doesn't. It's the same thing now. Checo should be there to get the wins if something happens to Max. And Checo didn't do that. And I think that seeing how far off the base he was, there was some reports of him having damage. I don't really know where he picked it up. he kind of did stall out once he got past Alonso, but I think that leads back to the discussion of he should just be there from the start. He should be qualifying second or third, right? He qualified, what? I think he did qualify like third or fourth. But again, picking up a dumb penalty put him in sixth. And again, something happened to Max. He should be there to pick that up and win that. We should be talking about Checo winning right now. And the fact that we're talking about him being fifth is super disappointing. So that's my take on that. As for the rest of the race, I mean, Carlos Sainz killed it, coming back from appendicitis the way he did. That was brilliant. I think that his recovery from that, coming back only 2 weeks later, not getting the full prep, the full training, being 100%, but to go out there and win that race the way he did, because he dominated it. I mean, he pretty much led from the start. He had the lead pretty much when Max got passed, right? He passed Max on lap 2? Max led the race on lap 3, and Sainz led the rest of the way. Like, he dominated that race, was the best driver. I think it leads to a question of, did Ferrari make the wrong move with their driver lineup? I mean, I think when you can get Lewis Hamilton, that's brilliant. But I just don't think Ferrari needed to shake up their driver lineup, to be fair. I think Charles is decent. I don't think he's as good as people hype him up to be. And I think Sainz is a really good driver. I mean, he's the only driver since 2023, all of 2023 and into this year, that is not a Red Bull driver that's won a race. So I think that's big for him. But yeah, I think for the rest of the race, it really wasn't any more exciting than a normal F1 race. I mean, I think that most of the time F1's kind of there. I mean, to be fair, it's one of those things that I felt a few years ago I was more interested in. Now I'm kind of like, let's roll up and watch the race, see what happens. I definitely feel there's less of an interest for me. To be completely honest, and I was feeling that a little bit even throughout last year, and I think it's just one of those things that the race didn't really feel any different to me than it did if Max is leading by 30 seconds, but the fact that the driver I'm rooting for is not in the race. Like, it didn't feel any different, though, because they're showing you a guy in fifth, and you're kind of just like this tease of, is somebody going to make a move, and they don't. All right, I mean, we had that the whole time. Are McLaren going to do anything? Oh, no, they didn't. And Charles gapped Lando a little bit. Oh, Lando's catching up. Oh, he didn't. It's just the same every single time. So it didn't feel any different. Again, besides that Max wasn't there. Other things in that, Mercedes had their own day. Lewis Hamilton's out of the race, so if you tuned in and seen that, you might have thought, hey, Max and Lewis took each other out. It's 2021 all over again. Lewis Hamilton had his engine say, nah, I'm good, fam. See ya. And he was out of the race. And then George Russell had a skill issue behind Fernando Alonso and took himself out. I think Alonso's penalty for that, 30 seconds? Something ridiculous. Real dumb. I don't think Alonso deserved to get a penalty for brake checking. I mean, he did slow up in the corner slightly. You can tell that affect the aerodynamics of George Russell's car, but I don't think it was brake checking. I don't think that that's really a thing. I think that when you look at... I'm trying to think when we had brake checking, that was actually like brake checking, right? I mean, every time that there's an incident, we say it's brake checking. I mean, Max and Lewis in Saudi Arabia, I don't think was brake checking. I think Max was strategically slowing down and Lewis drove into him. I think that this is strategically slowing down and George Russell losing the car. There's a big enough gap between them that wasn't really, in my mind, a brake check. I think brake checking right in front of somebody. I think that gap, that's not brake checking, dude. That's just him slowing down and George Russell not having the skills to drive out of it. That's my thought on it. That's all thought on F1 for this week. Believe there's a week off and then it's Japan. I don't think it's back to back. I don't know. I think it's 2 weeks off, though. Let's see. Load up my phone. Where's my phone say? Racing. Yes, April 7th, so there is a week off. Brilliant. All right, next we're going to jump into IndyCar. Why not? IndyCar had the $1 million challenge at Thermal Club, is what they officially were calling it. So I turned it on. Again, I actually wrote a whole article about this, so if you want to check it out, there will be a link down below if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're on X, you can just go up and there should be a little section on my account that says articles. I wrote an article about it. I'm going to do writing some, writing different articles, and I felt like that'd be an interesting subject to write an article about. So, yeah, let's jump into it. So, that race, it was kind of weird. Again, it's a $1 million challenge where it really didn't pay $1 million to the winner. I thought it was going to be like a NASCAR all-star race kind of thing. But it wasn't. NASCAR all-star race, winner gets $1 million, everybody else goes home. See ya. You probably get a little bit from your team or however it works. But directly the purse of the race is $1 million to the winner. So, that race wasn't $1 million to the winner. It was $500,000 to the winner. And then like $350,000 to second, $250,000 to third, or something like that, in that range. It was a weird breakdown, because the actual prize was $1.75 million, and it was very weird how it was laid out. So, the race itself had, two heats. So, first heat, I'm sorry, I was messaging my brother in F1 tier list. We were just talking about the race from the weekend. Oh my god. I had a tier in my tier list of drivers. I had Ocon and Gasly is just French, and I put George Russell's own category of just George below them both. So one just pops up on my screen and says George is below the French. That's pretty funny. But yeah. So back to the race. So you had the two heats, and again the track. Before we dive into the heats, I feel like the track wasn't anything special, right? I think that the area, it'd be cool to live at. I mean, I think that the club itself, you got that money to go there. You have the cars for it. You can drive the track whenever you kind of want. Basically, I'm pretty sure that's how that works. You just drive whenever the hell you want on the track, or set it up a certain time. I think it's brilliant. But I don't think that type of track is meant for racing series, right? And the track's relatively flat. It's got a little bit of a hill, but not much. It's in the desert in California. So, I mean, again, cool for people that live there. Really wasn't any fans. You could pay like $500 to go to it, but I don't know where you're sitting. There wasn't any seats. It was a very strange event from that sense, right? You fast forward, though, the race starts, the first heat. Romain Grosjean gets spun by Scott Dixon and Tyrrell VK, and Grosjean and VK both crash out, so you have a little bit of a caution for that. Scott Dixon gets a drive-through penalty, so he falls back, is out of contention, which you wouldn't really expect Scott Dixon out of contention in a all-star event, but he was, because of that penalty. So the way the race worked, it was 10 laps or 20 minutes. I felt it was kind of weird that the laps didn't count under caution, yet the timer kept going. At that point, I don't know why you don't just keep counting the laps if the timer's going, but whatever. So yeah, that didn't go the full 10 laps because it went 20 minutes. Who won that? Forgot who won it. Who won the first heat? I completely forgot. Let's see. The first heat. Wrote in my article, but I forgot who it was. Let's see. Felix Rosenquist. Okay. Yeah, I mean, he won it from the pole. Second stage, Alex Palou. absolutely dominates that race. McLaren's a little bit of a battle for sixth, which was the transfer into the main race. But not really much happened in that. So you go to the main race. Alex Palou starts on pole, dominates the race, and it was pretty much over from there. Only real intrigue in the race, Colton Herta fell back at the first 10 laps because it was a 2 10-lap races basically. 10-lap sprint. So, but you couldn't change your tires. So Colton Herta falls back, preserves his tires, doesn't go a lap down, drives slow enough to keep the tires, not worn out. Everybody else is kind of pushing, especially towards the front more. So after the little bit of a break, they go back out. Colton Herta is just killing it with the tires. He's driving through. I believe he goes from 10th. I think 2 cars were out. But he went from 10th to 5th. He kind of ran out of push to pass, ran out of time. But again, the gap towards the front just getting bigger and bigger. So it's kind of hard for him to make up more moves. But again, kind of worked out for him a little bit in that sense. But that was really the only interesting part of the race. There wasn't really that much interest in it, right? It wasn't that much like, who's going to win? Alex Palou just dominated from the start. And yeah, it was kind of boring, to be fair. But that sort of stuff happens, right? I don't think I missed much if I didn't watch the race, or if you didn't watch the race. I don't know why I said I didn't miss much. If I didn't miss the race, or nope, if I didn't watch the race, I wouldn't have missed anything. That's what I'm trying to say. If you didn't watch it, cool, congrats, you didn't miss anything. That's my take on it. It wasn't exciting. We're gonna now jump to NASCAR. Bruh. Oh my god. I don't know if you guys hear the cat scratching at the door and meowing at the door. Bro is desperate for cat food. Now, he has cat food throughout the house, but he wants what's in here. We have different food in this room that he is desperate to eat. All of it now. All right. So, NASCAR truck race. That was the first race day. Circuit of the Americas. 2 races. Trucks and Xfinity the same day. So, what did we see? I don't remember. It was like oh my god, it was like a day ago. Day and a half ago. All right, we're back. We had a little technical issue. Thought I lost the whole recording, but we're here. Truck race. Who was it? Connor Zilic. He got the pole. Fox is going wild for this dude the whole time. Their commentators were loving it. Don't know why, but they were super obsessed with him. So he pulled up, got the pole, overshot the first turn, fell way to the back, had a flat tire that really affected his race. He really didn't get back to the front. He was in the top 10, but didn't get back to the front. It was pretty much Corey Heim just absolutely dominating it. And yeah, throughout the race, you had a few incidents, a lot of hitting into each other for sure, a lot of damage on a lot of trucks. But I can't really remember much of it specifically, because a lot of it was just Corey Heim dominating, and a few of the trucks moving through the field with pit stops around stages, but it didn't really seem like there was any doubt that Corey Heim was going to win that race, and he got that win. Easy dub for him, but yeah, I mean, track race was solid for sure. You had Marco Andretti, his whole rear of his truck basically came off the tires and the rear end gears and all that stuff, rear end housing for all that stuff. Really strange. You had the shocks and everything flying around. It just literally fell apart. Never seen anything like it. It was so weird, to say the least. But yeah,